Brothers and sisters, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is our spiritual gumbo. This is the wild ass and the overthrow. This is going to be just going to touch on Ishmael. We're going to get to the Sodom and Gomorrah overthrow. Then we're going to lead into the birth of one Esau. And that'll be leading into the next lesson, which is the last bull. And his story is a very interesting one because during the last bull, I'm just giving y'all a preview. We're going to talk about how when people say things like, oh, I shouldn't have to pay for water. Okay, fine. Then are you willing to fight and die for it? Fight and kill for it? Like, are you willing to get hurt so that way you have access to a waterway or to a water supply? And from there, let's pick on up in today's lesson. So we're going to do a brief recap. In our last little episode, we was talking about how Sodom and Gomorrah, they were part of a coalition of other kings. And to give preface to it, we have to speak on the idea that Sodom and Gomorrah are children of Canaan. And all the Canaanites. And let's read who they are, just in case people forgot. Verse 15 of chapter 10 of the Genesis. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and the Kettite, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Evite, and the Ardukite, and the Assyrian, and the Aridean, and the Sumerian, and the Amatite. And after this, the tribes of the Canaanites were dispersed. And the boundaries of the Canaanites were from Sidon till one comes to Gerar, and Gaza till one comes to Sodom and Gomorrah. These were the sons of Cam in their tribes, according to their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. Now, why that's so important is so you understand how these guys ended up in a servitude position in the first place. And just in case people are forgetting, let's take it all the way back again. Let's go to the chapter 9 and 25 of chapter 9. And Noah recovered from the wine and knew all that his younger son had done to him. And he said, cursed be the servant Canaan, a slave shall he be to his brethren. And he said, blessed be the Lord God of Sem, and Canaan shall be his bondservant. May God make room for Japheth, and let him dwell in the habitations of Sem, and let Canaan be his servant. Stop right there. So when you have a dynamic where an entire bloodline, it doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter if it's a jet, understand, if you come from the loins of Canaan, you have a predisposition to being servitude, to being a servant and a slave. This is a fact. Not to say that Semites could not be servants and slaves, but their disposition towards servitude is different than somebody who has a genetic predisposition to be a slave and a servant. Imagine you come from a purely Semitic bloodline or Semitic Japhetic bloodline. Serving people, in so many words, is beneath you. But if you have what a lot of us have, right? And I hate to say that we have Kemetic blood. Obviously we do. It's not that I hate to admit, I just hate to say it because that's the only thing about it. When people claim to be Africans and then claim to be like, well, you're not servantile, that's impossible. The only way that could be possible is you could be Kemetic and then you're not any way related to the Canaanites. That understand though. The only way that could be is if your people did that on purpose. I.e., when they so-called put the children of Abraham on those boats, going on 400 years, hasn't been 400 years yet. When they put those children on those boats, they had to have known that some of them were other people. not the people that they were actually there for. But that's done to muddy the waters. Again, the genetic predisposition for servitude is connected to a specific bloodline of a specific family of the children of the earth. It is not something that all people are naturally into. And I know they'll conflate the Gentiles' inability to think for themselves, which is why they engage in groupthink more than anybody else does. Right on? They don't create individuals from Gentiles. Gentiles are full-blown copycats, by all means. Let us read. We stopped off when Abraham was in the trance and he sees his seed get sent to the land or afflicted and all that. We're going to pick up right at verse 14, chapter 15 of the Genesis. And the nation whomsoever they shall serve, I will judge. And after this they will come forth hither with much property. But thou shalt depart to thy fathers, or die, in peace, nourished in a good old age. And in the fourth generation they shall return hither, for the sins of the Amorites are not yet filled up, even until now. Now a generation is clearly 100 years to the Most High God. Fourth generation, 400 years. Do the math. Again, I needed to go back over that so that way I could give that part to the people. But however, let's just say, for example, that people don't believe that, right? That means that you think that this part of the scripture already took place. My question would be is, where in history can we go and find this instance where we can line it up with the scripture? Period. But anyway, we're going to move forward. And the sun was about to set, verse 17. There was a flame, and behold, a smoking furnace and lamps of fire, which passed between the divided pieces. In that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to thy seed I will give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates, the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Ketmodeans, the Kittites. You know what I'm saying? What's up, bro? What's up, bro? I know, bro. They be trying to hold it down. They got the suppression on the channel, fam. What's happening, brother? I hope all is well, man. You know, I was gonna go live yesterday, but it was my birthday, and I ended up having to work, and some weird stuff happened, so I just held back. You know, I just had to hold back. But yeah, fam. We gonna take their heads off, cause right now, I'm just slowly working my way into the birth of Ishmael, and then we're gonna work our way into Sodom and Gomorrah and the overthrow. And I just want to stress, you know, the little things. But man, I really do pray all is well, fam. And I'm gonna pick back up just right where I was at. Verse 19. I'm gonna start at verse 18. In that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to thy seed. Now, people can argue who his seed is to this day, but it says, to thy seed, I will give this land from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates. Now, why again, I push back on the Balfour Declaration and all that stuff that they did for the so-called Jews is for one reason only, because God himself didn't do that. See what I'm saying? The Father in heaven didn't do that. Men put it on paper, but the book of Enoch tells us that men weren't meant to confirm their own goodwill. So already off top, they tripping. But anyway, we're going to keep reading and break it down. The Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Ketmoneans, the Kittites, and the Perizzites, and the Raphaim, and the Amorite, and the Canaanites, and the Evites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. And I'm going to say this right here. That part for some people, because it doesn't really indicate, those are all the people that are on the land. That's everybody that's going to be under their possession at that time. So whether or not they're a Canaanite, if they're in the land, yeah, you got to, yeah. It's not so much about making people kiss the ring as it is about them understanding, hey, if y'all had done right, God would have never even gave us the land. This is a fact and a foregone conclusion. Again, he didn't give the people the promised land because they were righteous. He gave it to them because the inhabitants of the land were unrighteous. Right. But they ain't hearing that. Now let's keep going. Verse 1 of chapter 16. And Sarah, the wife of Abraham, bore him no children. And she had an Egyptian maid whose name was Agar. Hey, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, big bro, it's going to be hell to tell the captain. You know, off subject real quick. I was at work last night and there was a situation that took place where normally there's a certain number of people that do certain jobs. They sent one of the people away who does one of the more like backbone based jobs, but they sent them away when they didn't even do everything they should have done before they sent them off. Needless to say, I was not happy. But we're in a world where people think that they're smarter than, as long as you're black, they're always going to think they're smarter than you. And they think if they have a title, they think that that means that they did something. When we already all know, again, a kleptocracy, you know, doesn't require for you to be a good person. You can still, you know, hey, they might already listen. The craziest part is these dudes that might have been released already. Some of this information on the internet that's so brand new. I'm saying we already know those spirits are on the earth. The physical bodies of these things. And we've for years and years and years, it's been, I've speculated it. We've obviously talked about this kind of stuff out loud, and people might think we're crazy. But if these dudes manage to bring back Nebrod or Nebuchadnezzar or Imhotep or Ramses, or any one of these dudes that was a real life like mage, wizard, warlock, magician, they have no idea what they're in for. You know what I'm saying? You can't control something when you don't know the mechanisms to it. You know what I mean? You can't. It's impossible. It's like where they don't want to admit, again, that yellow cake or whatever you want to call that, uranium and plutonium has to be the residual parts of the fallen angels that fought and died in those parts of the earth. And there's a reason why there's more of it in Africa and the Middle East than anywhere else on the earth. There's a reason for that. Because that's where all life started, in that region of the earth, what they call the cradle of civilization. The earth was one piece. Right. Oh, we ain't trying to save them from themselves. We're trying to save us from them. You know what I mean? We ain't trying to save them, dog. We're trying to save us from them. But if in the midst of saving ourselves, a couple of them tag along, whether they be darker than this lighter, or they be whiter than this cup, that's neither here nor there for me, But let me get back to this part right here, because I'm about to break into this thing with Sarah again, right? And I know a lot of people may understand that her and the Egyptian pharaoh obviously had some kind of relations if she was his wife for any period of time. I cannot help but to break the part where there was some kind of schism. It doesn't say it here, But there's some kind of schism because God is promising Abraham's seed. So we know what he's doing with his wife. We know exactly what he's doing with his wife, and no babies. That's right. You got to leave him for him. So we know when there's no babies being produced, he's not questioning the Most High God. He's wondering, are they going to come from her? Right. And he might have said something to her like, God said I'm going to have babies. There's a lot of speculation we can do. I love to speculate at this point because it's healthy speculation, because we have to understand people relations, right? Again, why would she offer him an Egyptian handmaid servant and not offer one from their homeborn class? Is it because Sarah knew that if that child was a boy, no matter how much she loves Abraham and no matter how much he loves her, that child would get everything that they work for? Now, some people get mad when I say, like, bro, again, if the Egyptians gave this man a dowry for his sister, they didn't take the dowry back, right? They just kicked him out of the land of Egypt, so much so that they had to follow this dude out. Okay, who else did the Egyptians escort out of the land? Right. Carefully and diligently. And then once they figured out, oh, these dudes aren't coming back, now we got to go chase them down. Now, some people think that's, it's a lot going on in these little bit of phrases that we have to unpack and understand as people. Because there's a lot of children, and I don't like to say that word, there's a lot of childlike mentality people who are grown up in the body, but in here are underdeveloped. They can be 25, 26. Listen, if you want to say a grown-up person is 18, even though I disagree with that, let's just say at 18, they're grown. Their brain is still not developed all the way. They haven't experienced enough things. With maturity comes understanding. And a person who has the lack of experience has a lack of maturity most of the time. It's hard to be mature and you haven't been through anything. Composure and maturity are not the same thing. Again, they're two different words. So we live in a time of conflation like no other. This is why when somebody says, I said what I said, that means what I said is what I said. Don't add anything to it. If you think that I meant something different, you can say, I thought you meant this. But you can't tell me what I meant because you're not me and I'm not you. I could never tell you what you mean. But we live in a time where people are so infatuated with the idea that they can echo chamber you into silence. Let's move on. And Sarah said to Abraham, behold, the Lord has restrained me from bearing. Go therefore unto my maid, that I may get children for myself through her. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah. So Sarah, the wife of Abraham, having taken Agar the Egyptian, her handmaid, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, gave her to Abraham her husband as a wife to him. And he went into Agar, and she conceived, and saw that she was with child, and her mistress was dishonored before her. Now we know why Sarah was dishonored. Again, she didn't get pregnant by the Egyptian. So she's thinking, there's no way he's going to get her pregnant. I doubt it. I hope not. And then when she did get pregnant, it hurt her because she's like, oh, so God is going to give her a child. Right. And not me. Now this is deep. Verse 6. And Sarah said to Abraham, I am injured by thee. I gave my handmaid into thy bosom. And when I saw that she was with child, I was dishonored before her. The Lord judged between me and thee. Listen, Sarah felt then or knew then Abraham was not the problem. She probably been telling herself that her whole life. Man, this nigga can't have babies. And then probably told herself that, Pharaoh is pulling out or whatever. Might have been. I don't know. I'm saying this, though. For her not to have gotten pregnant by Pharaoh. Maybe she had an abortion. Maybe, we don't know. Maybe they had some kind of, ancient contraceptives. He wasn't trying to get all of his wives pregnant. I don't know. But I'm assuming he hit it raw and he let it go inside of her and she never got pregnant. That's my thought. Or it could be Pharaoh had that other condition that Abraham had, that a bunch of them dudes had. Right on? Word? Right on? Which is, because it's not clipped at the end, and they don't have access to water every day. You have to be bathing every day to keep your skin moisturized. Follow what I'm saying. They can look this stuff up. I'm not going to look it up right now, but I'm going to pull it up when we do the little circumcision part probably. I'll probably break some stuff down for real, or after the fact. But there's a condition they used to have, and I bring it up all the time, where the tip of the foreskin would harden up, and it would make it to where the release of seed was damn near impossible, super duper hard. And they said it was believed it made intercourse painful. I believe that. That would be extremely painful. Your shit can't come. It's not flowing right. Come on, whoa, right on. So again, all the things, when you know these kind of things, you put it together with that time frame. You're like, yeah, that's the coldest shit. And don't nobody want to hear it because they don't want me to say these things about the Bible. They act like Abraham never defecated or urinated. Like, again, they sensationalize the scripture so much so that you can't add the people element. This was a person that lived. His wife was a person. These are people that lived. Right. This is a lover's quarrel, a love triangle for all intents and purposes. That done went wrong. So when I stress these things, when I'm saying what I'm saying, understand what I just said. Sarah said, the Lord's judged between me and thee. Not between her and Agar, but between her and Abraham. As if, like I said earlier, she was blaming bro for her not being able to get pregnant. Now, that's never said or spoken on, but that is a statement that I can take to the bank. What is he judging? Who has a healthy body that can produce children? Right. There's no speculation of one of his servants sleeping with Agar or somebody else sleeping with her. It's known that Abraham slept with the woman. So we can remove all sorts of kind of weirdo nonsense notions. I just want to peopleize it as we get through it so that way folks can really put their feet on solid ground. Verse 6, and Abraham said to Sarah, behold, thy handmaid is in thy hands. Use her as it may seem good to thee. And Sarah afflicted her, and she fled from her face. Same woman that gave her up is the same woman giving her a hard time. This done happened a bunch of times with chicks. She let her homegirl get with her man. They done did some weird freaky deaky stuff. Now the homegirl got the heartstrings to her man. Her man is like, I don't care what y'all do. Whatever. You can send her, whatever. And then now it's a weird situation. But this is a blessing. This is a blessed situation from way back in the day. This is why to this day we're here. Because the Ishmaelite is a part of the problem, not a part of the solution. They're just like the Moabite and the Ammonites, Ammon or An, Ammonites, Moabites, Amorites, Idumeans, just like them. They all got their noses disjointed. Verse 7, and the angel of the Lord found her by the fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Sur. And the angel of the Lord said to her, Agar, Sarah's maid, whence comest thou, and whither goest thou? And she said, I am fleeing from the face of my mistress Sarah. And the angel of the Lord said to her, return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Lord said to her, I will surely multiply thy seed, and it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, for the Lord has hearkened to thy humiliation. This part right here is the most important part. I've been waiting to read this. He shall be a wild man. Stop. And that white bull which was born amongst them begat a wild ass. Hey, they got to go. They got to go because the strangers amongst us. The strangers amongst us. Some of the people that we love the most, that we call black, are actually Egyptians. Some of the people amongst us that we love most, that are amongst us, are actually, like you just said, the Cushite. Some of the people that we love the most that are amongst us, right, are the Philistine, or are Gentiles. This is the deepest stuff. They are amongst us. They seem like us. Their grievance is similar to ours. Therefore, we identify with. But they're not representation because they're not us. And they truly don't believe. If they did believe, they would act on it. Now, did we all catch that part right there, bro? And it says, and they began to bite one another. This is verse 11 of chapter 89 in the book of Enoch. But that white bull which was born amongst them, who's Abraham, begat a wild ass. And then what does this say right here? He shall be a wild man. Now, what are the chances? The odds, the compound probability, as Brother Scribe would say, that written in this book, that's supposed to be before the book, is a description that is literally the same wording, only one is a wild ass or a wild donkey, and the other one is a wild man. So again, when I've been lining up the book of Enoch with people, they don't realize the book of Enoch only gives us the fine-tuned generalities, not the fine-tuned details. When they do have fine-tuned details, the fine-tuned details are specified to a moment, not to a situation. I.e., when it tells us that that the one fallen angel led Eve astray after the garden, right, and taught her how to make weapons of war and all kinds of stuff, right? Where do you think the term war maiden comes from? Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Now, let us read again. Genesis. And we're going to go back to that wild ass part. Maybe we don't have to. But we're getting ready to get up into the circumcision part, right? And then we're going to get ready to get up into the Sodom and Gomorrah. So we're going to not power through this, but I got about another 30 minutes of good reading to do. And maybe a little more than that, but I'm going to say about 30 minutes of good reading. And yeah, I got a couple pages to get through. But I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Verse 12, he shall be a wild man, his hands against all, and the hands of all against him. and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Lord God who spoke to her. Thou art God who seest me. For she said, for I have openly seen him that appeared to me. Therefore, she called the well of him who I have openly seen. Again, this is the Christ. That's not the Most High God she saw. No man shall see my face and yet live. That counts for women too. A woman is of a man. Now, if y'all think that he's just going to let females see his face, whatever. 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 But remember, several people mistake who they're seeing. Remember when Jacob sees Esau again and he's like, it's as if he's seeing God himself? Again, the Christ, it's not a conflation of words here. This is her not knowing who she's dealing with. Again, the Most High God is telling Moses what happened. As we read this, our lens has to be through the lens of somebody who's being told the events leading up. Yeah. You know, it don't sound right. Come on, right? Yeah, bro. It don't sound right, man. So, all I'm saying is this. More than likely, she dealt with the Christ. You know what I mean? The mighty one of Israel. The Redeemer. For a person who doesn't know anything, they probably thinking it's the same. For people who don't know, again, this is why you're supposed to test the spirit. This is why you're supposed to. This is why you test the spirit. But again, she's an Egyptian. No disrespect to the Egyptians. No dishonor, no disrespect, no foul play of words. Because enough is going to be said about them as we read. It's not for me to say that they don't believe in the Most High God, as it is I can say that they don't worship him. I say it like that. I'll say that about any other group where I know that they know that the Most High God is real. But they don't worship him. They worship another entity who claims to be his successor or his representation. But that representation is always corrupt. And the only non-corrupt representation we've ever known about in the whole scripture is the dude that they say that never existed. Go figure. Even Moses himself said, and every man has done which that is right in his own eyes up until now. Even Moses said that. These dudes be mad because they ain't never read the Bible and never retained no information. So they don't know what's actually going on. That's what they couldn't have said it no better, bro. You summed it up, and once they believe in the fallen angels and their magic and their sciences. Couldn't have said it any better. Now here we are. Verse 15. No, middle of 14. Therefore she called the well of him who I have seen, who I have openly seen. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Barad. And Agar bore a son to Abram. And Abram called the name of his son, which Agar bore to him, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Agar bore Ishmael to Abram. Now here we go, 13 years later, skip. All this other stuff done happened. And Abram was 99 years old. A bunch of stuff done happened in 13 years. And the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am thy God. Be well-pleasing before me and be blameless. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell upon his face. And God spoke to him, saying, and I, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of a multitude of nations. And thy name shall no more be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham. For I have made thee a father of many nations, and I will increase thee very exceedingly, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. and I will establish my covenant between thee and thy seed after thee, to their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be thy God and the God of thy seed after thee. I'm going to come back to this part because that's super important. And I will give thee and thy seed after thee the land wherein thou sojournest, even all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. And I will be to them a God. And God said to Abraham, thou shalt fully keep my covenant. Excuse me. And God said to Abraham, also shalt thou fully keep my covenant, thou and thy seed after thee, for their generations. And this is the covenant which thou shalt fully keep between me and you, and between thy seed after thee for their generations. Every male of you shall be circumcised, and ye shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. And it shall be for a sign of a covenant between me and you. And the child of 8 days old shall be circumcised by you, every male throughout your generations, and the servant born in the house, and he that is bought with money, and every son of a stranger who was not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with money, shall surely be circumcised. And my covenant shall be on your flesh for an everlasting covenant. Okay, right there. Boom. We're going to keep reading in a second. But we got to go back up. And he says, and I shall be, and I will establish my covenant with thee, verse 7, and thy seed after thee to the generations for an everlasting covenant, to be thy God, which is Abraham, and the God of thy seed after thee, everybody that comes after him. So again, when people don't realize, back in those days, you gotta realize black people, for all intents and purposes, were pagans. That's why I don't like when they attribute paganism to just white folks. Black people worship the moons. Black people worship the stars. Black people worship the sun. Black people worship the trees. Black people worship birds and bees and bulls and all kind of other bullshit. Right. If that's not paganism, I don't know what it is. If it's not heathenistic, I don't know what it is. And black people with afros and beards, without them, worshipped. Right, all that shit. So they can't tell me nothing, dog. These niggas is tripping. But I'll say this. God bless them. God bless them. Because I'm quite sure that they don't think that we're supposed to be under this umbrella where he's our God. Again, we live in a time where they try to tell you, God can't tell you who to love. But he has laws on who you should not marry, who he like, yo, you do not marry these people. And those people look like the people that he's telling not to marry them. So how do you think he feels about you marrying somebody who doesn't look anything like you? Shh, don't say nothing, right? Don't say nothing because these niggas are going to get upset. And all of us got an Asian or a white person or a Hispanic or somebody that does not belong naturally in our bloodline. Word? For real, for real. No, I'm saying though. You giggling, but bro, you know that it is real, man. These dudes be tripping. Like, they don't understand. Your great, 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 great antiquity grandmama was praying to the moon, cuz. You know what I'm saying? Like, your great, great, great antiquity granddaddy was worshiping trees. Nigga, what? And got the nerve to call the white dudes pagans because they put that in a witchcraft setting. It's an enchantment and an illusion, which is called a movie. And within that, they're able to create a false reality of the past that did not actually exist. And it gives people a false notion. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, they sure are. They sure are. Yeah, they waiting for that for sure. Yeah, they waiting for some Osmosis Jones action, right? You remember Osmosis Jones when he was in the club, right? Yeah, that's what they waiting for. They waiting for some of that. Nasty. That's what they waiting for, dog. Yeah. 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 They better not get me started. Okay? They better not get me started because we going to pop it off. We already took their heads off politely. We already politely took their whole heads off. Now we just going to keep just, back to the circumcision, back to people getting it cleaned up down there. And the circumcised male who shall not be circumcised, verse 14, in the flesh of his foreskin on the 8th day shall be utterly destroyed from his family, for he has broken my covenant. And God said to Abraham, Sarah, thy wife, her name shall not be called Sarah. Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her, and I will give thee a son of her, and I will bless him, and he shall become nations, and kings of nations shall be of him. And Abraham fell upon his face and laughed. And he spoke in his heart, not out loud, in his heart. Meaning that the heart has a mind of its own. The heart, your heart's desires, what your mind desires are two different things. This is why the struggle in the flesh is so real. Because the mind is connected to the celestial and the divine. The heart is connected to the physical. Anyway, I know I don't know nothing about nothing. I'm just giving my unsolicited opinion, but that let me share that. And here we are. And Abram fell upon his face, verse 17, and laughed and spoke in his heart, saying, shall there be a child to one who was 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who was 90 years old, bear? And Abram said to God, let this Ishmael live before thee. And God said to Abram, yea, behold, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God to him and to his seed after him. And concerning Ishmael, behold, I have heard thee, and behold, I have blessed him, and will increase him, and multiply him exceedingly. 12 nations shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to thee at this time in the next year. And he left off speaking with him, and God went up from Abraham. Now, I want y'all to, bro, this is so deep. So much happens there. The unpacking is crazy, right? And I had to, again, I waited to get to a point where I had 2 hours, 3 hours. I'm not done for a minute today. We're going to just ride this one out. This is one of the ones. Now, first off, he tells Abraham that he's going to, through circumcision, be with him and his children after him, right? The seed after him. Now, no disrespect to Ishmael. People are like, well, Ishmael's his seed. These people claim to be Ishmael today, who claim to be Muslims. How are they not his children? How is Allah not the God that they worshiped back in the day? All right, let's get there. If Ishmael was following the covenant, 8 days in, not 14 years in, they would be getting circumcised. Number one. Right. Number two. God says here, explicitly, exclusively, listen, and concerning Ishmael, behold, I have heard thee, and behold, I have blessed him, and will increase him, and multiply him exceedingly. 12 nations shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac. So that means that the covenant is not established with Ishmael. That means the covenant to be the God of his children and his seed afterward is not established with Ishmael. Again, every Muslim is a liar. And they say that the book is mistranslated. Dudes who force people under the threat of death to convert. No different than the Franks in Christianity. Right. Clovis killed everybody who didn't want to be a Christian, murdered them out the game. Not for a power move, but so that way, if you weren't going to do this, you have no way to live. Why do you think these white boys go crazy to this day? Why do you think you got all these Israeli soldiers blowing their heads off of murdering children? If what they was doing was actually right, listen. If what they was doing was right on any level, not one of those dudes would have killed themselves. Not one of them. If it was even an inkling right, not one of them kills each other or kills themselves. You're talking about a group that suffers from the highest level of cognitive dissonance. It's a famous quote that says the Jews don't believe in God, but they believe that he promised them the land. That's cognitive dissonance because you have, again, two differing beliefs that are in conflict with one another. Right. I could bring up all the other forms of cognitive dissonance they suffer from. That's the most obvious, though. Now, as we get down and read this, where we at? Verse 22. Hold on, and let's read that last part. Verse 22. And he left off speaking with him, and God went up from Abraham. Where's up? In the sky. Again, y'all, we're dealing with some stuff where, whether you want to call it aliens visiting the earth, when there was less radio frequency, the earth had much more visitation by the celestials. When they destroy radio frequency, for whatever people want to believe, let's just say let me say it like this. Let's say everybody booked a flight to Earth, right, from heaven, right? At different times. They're supposed to visit the Earth at different times. This angel was supposed to visit in 1970, had to rebook his flight. This angel was supposed to visit in 1881, had to rebook his flight. You pick the year, and the angels had to rebook their flights. And now they're all waiting for the fall of this thing, so that way when they go and do their visitation, it's going to be madness and bedlam, because the visitations they were supposed to have, they didn't have. Right. The people they were supposed to see, they didn't see. The things they were supposed to do weren't done. So now when it happens, it's going to be a convergence of this energy that was going to correct certain things, but now it'll just chasten it or destroy it altogether, obliterate it and annihilate it altogether. It's crazy. It's crazy. It'd be like when people first came to the San Francisco gold rush, right? Before they even knew it was a gold rush. And the first dude in San Francisco, whoever the first white boy with no teeth, right? Missing teeth ass white boy, sucking on gums, right? Eating lard, bacon, beans, and drinking whiskey, right? Him. First dude to pan out some gold for real, for real. By the time the word got to other people and it was too late, the actions they took, because they couldn't take the action of just going to go bust their ass in the mountain and just paying for some gold, right? And people forget that. That's what brought a lot of people to California to begin with. This is way before the Dust Bowl. Way before the Dust Bowl. The San Francisco, the California gold rush. But it was mainly in the San Francisco area. You know what I mean? Or not mainly, but that was one of the main areas. Right on. The California gold rush, though, that brought people to California. Right. It brought all kinds of people to California. So I'm saying I'm going to compare the earth to the California gold rush. And when certain people got there and there was no longer any gold to get, I'm going to take the gold that somebody else already got. We're going to plan a heist for the gold. Like, again, this is why people was robbing gold wagons and all kinds of shit back in the day. Again, like it's, when you stand back and look, would you leave empty-handed? If you came away from Yugoslavia to California just to find out there is no more gold in these mountains, what are you going to do? Are you going to write home and tell them that's it? Mission over? I wasted all of our village's life savings for nothing? Or you going to get your hands dirty to get that money back? Answer that to yourselves. That's that again. So what are these angels going to do to get their money back? Right on. Father already punched me a one-way ticket or a two-way ticket, first class. We ride. See? Just like that. See how quick? See, right? That's that quick. Riding, bruh. So imagine the situation the earth is in. And people think I'm joking. They think this is a game. I'm like, all right, nigga. All y'all can hope is that I'm dead and gone. But if I'm dead and gone and it pop off, you can't be like, oh, this nigga was right. I should have listened to this nigga. It's too late for that. Cut it. Should have listened. But give me 1 second. Here we are. Verse 23. And God took Ishmael, his son, and all his homeborn servants, and all those bought with money, and every male of the men of the house of Abraham, and he circumcised their foreskins in the time of that day, according as God spoke to him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. So, was he cut off forever? Again, based on the understanding, is Ishmael cut off forever? Obviously, Abraham's not cut off forever because this is a new ordinance, right? But this is your son. Your new son will be circumcised 8 days in, not destroyed from his people. Anyway, I don't know how to take that. It's open for interpretation, I guess, and until God gives me more clarity, I'll just balancing act or not balance. I'm gonna what's that? Scale it. I'm gonna scale it in my mind. Verse 1 of chapter 18. And God appeared to him by the oak of Mamre as he sat by the door of his tent at noon. This is a man that lived in a tent. Oh, they are cooked. They're more than cooked. You know, they fricassee, fried, and you know the other word I want to use. I'll refrain from saying it. However, 3 F's for sure. And one of them is fornication under consent of the king. Yes. 3 F's. Believe it. They are fricassee, fried, and you know what. Yeah. They did it to themselves. Did you do it to them? You don't tell these dudes to go out here and put bacon on all their sandwiches. Put swine lard in all the products. Trying to dirty up everybody. Trying to make it to where somehow you're weird if you don't eat commercialized food. But y'all dirty it all up. I can't even enjoy it for what it is because y'all done made it foul and nasty. But it's all right. It's all right. You gotta tell them just like that, bro. It's all right, y'all. But y'all know what y'all did. Yeah. Look. Oh, D Treasy's on a roll. My hitter. D Treasy. Yeah. People be like, wow, why you always talk? Listen, he's destroying it like as it should be destroyed. Ironically, Germany is one of the countries willing to defend Denmark. His fatherland. His fatherland. The land where his granddaddy comes from is willing to fight back against him in Greenland. I bet you the Germans are wishing they had just got rid of Friedrich Trump. They're wishing that. They're wishing they had just got rid of him. Because now the son of the sun is bringing the earth to its. If the earth has legs, she gonna fall to her knees fucking with this dude. And I meant every word I just said. She gonna fall to her knees and falter. He's a German pirate. German. Yeah. Das German engineering. Yes? Mm-hmm. He's a German pirate. We can't act like German navies and British navies and French navies and Spanish navies didn't produce pirates. Yeah. He's a German oil pirate, dog. He ain't listen. We gotta call these dudes out for what they are. He's a German Scot. His mama's Scottish. His daddy a German. Right on. He's a German Scot. His mama's Scottish. His daddy German. I'ma say like this. That dude has done more for us than we could ever imagine. Right on? He done delegitimized so many white institutions. I'm talking about, bruh, this has to be an in-living color scheme. This motherfucker is Fire Marshal Bill in the White House. Excuse my language, but he is. Bruh, this nigga is on. Let me show you something. Every time this dude get on the mic, that's all I heard. Every time he's doing something, all I heard was, let me show you something. That's all I heard. Okay? All right? Fire Marshal Bill in the White House tearing it up. I can't be mad at him, though. They voted him in. Right? So that means that a bunch of Fire Marshal Bills voted him in. Yeah. He trying to kill his way into heaven. He thinks if he kills all the right bad people, he'll earn his way there. Again, this is where, and in this right here, I want to talk about this real quick before we carry on with this, right? It's sad that we have a time on the earth where somebody who, I mean, like, no disrespect, Donald Trump, if you listen to the dude when he was younger, and I'm talking about like in his 50s, in his 40s, that's not somebody being 50 is not old, y'all. Like, again, for the people who are really young, listen, all these dudes is on some of that crazy stuff because they can't distinguish right from wrong. You know what I mean? Just real quick, right? As you say that, whether it's do as thou wilt, right, or you only live once, right? I can say that's just somebody saying every man did that which was right in his own eyes. That is do as thou wilt. Doing that which is right in your own eyes. Doing that which is right in my own eyes. Doing that which is right in our own eyes is do as thou wilt. It's scripture. Again, does that tell me to do as I will? No. But that tells me I could if I chose to. So when we deal with these people who don't even understand, again, the most basic prognostications from the scripture, we chopping it up like, you know, two people who know what's going to happen before it happens. You know, I think you're one of the only people I ever known to point out the fact that Shaul was anointed. You know what I mean? For real, like, you're one of the only people I ever known to point that out, like, to make it known. Saul was anointed. Right on? Son of Kish. Of the least family, of the least tribe, a.k.a. Benjamin. And you made it so clear that he was anointed, that people forgot that, right? Like, this is why when David had the Amalekite killed, because the Amalekite lied. But this is after the establishment of the law. The law tells you not to perjure yourself. The Amalekite perjured himself by saying that he killed Shaul, as if that would please David. Not realizing you're an outsider dealing with family business. Come on. And David did what? Had him touched immediately. Right. Somebody fell on him with the sword, in quotes. All I'm saying is this, bro. We don't have very many people who understand what they're reading as they read it, or even have a grasp of what they're reading. I don't understand every little part of every little piece and bit of the scripture. I don't. You know what I'm saying? You know. But that's all you can do is remind people. They got rent, mortgage, property taxes, uh, they got girlfriend money, side chick money, right? That they got to be responsible for, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, they got all these problems. Some stuff that happened 5,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. They're like, that's not my problem. It got nothing to do with me. Same people will tell you, you cannot know your future unless you know your past. And if you don't know your past, you're bound to repeat it. Again, cognitive dissonance. They hold two differing values at the same time. Therefore, it creates conflict within them. If they just believed the one thing over the other and didn't practice the other thing at all, they wouldn't have that issue. They would be able to see the problem with the system and say the problem is that the system does not accommodate properly for people who've put into it. If they've been counting the taxes that I put into the system since I was 15, because I didn't put a lot of money into the system, tax-wise, or tax-wise, I didn't put bread into the system. Here we are. Verse 9. No, whoa. Verse 1. And God appeared to Abraham by the oak of Mamre as he sat by the door of his tent at noon. And he lifted up his eyes and beheld, lo, 3 men stood before him. And having seen them, he ran to meet them. This is a 100-year-old man running. And he said, Lord, if indeed I have found grace in thy sight, pass not by thy servant. Let water now be brought, and let them wash your feet, and do ye refresh yourselves under the tree. I know it, brother. I'm with you, fam. Let's get it. And I will bring bread, and ye shall eat. And after this, ye shall depart on your journey. On account of which refreshment ye have turned aside to your servant. And he said, so do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened to the tent to Sarah, and said to her, hasten, and knead 3 measures of fine flour, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the king, and took a young calf, tender and good, and gave it to his servant, and he hastened to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set them before them. And they did eat, and he stood by them under the tree. Butter and milk. Right on? So assume that they put the butter on the bread, buttered the bread up, People drank milk back then, y'all. Like, I know people have a hard time thinking, like, who drinks milk in the middle of the day? Oh, it'll make your stomach da-da-da-da-da. No, that's not true. Black people who drink milk, and if you're a black person and you're not lactose at this point in your life, milk is the bomb. Like dairy products I eat all kinds. I'm not lactose. I tear some milk and stuff like that up. Love it. Love it. So when I read stuff like this, I can relate. It's not telling us if the butter was garlic butter or was seasoned or unsalted or so. It doesn't matter. Because who's ever had bread and butter, right on, with some meat, knows that this was smacking. This was a hit right here. This was a hit. This was a good meal. Hey, bro. But it's crazy, right? It's crazy that they don't want to admit anything. Your body has to have all that stuff. Your body has to have oil, has to have fat, has to have sugar, has to have salt. Those are essentials to surviving. You cannot survive without them. If your salt is too low, your sodium's too low, your sugar's too low, more than likely you're a diabetic. Right. And got other issues going on. Yeah. Cause it's okay if the Italians and the French smother their food in butter and cream, but when a nigga do it, it's unhealthy. Go figure. It's only unhealthy because God cursed us and they know that he cursed us. But if they admitted that, then they would have to admit that they've been doing this wrong this whole time. Again, that's why they come with all these sideways ways of saying the things that should have already been said. Where we at, brother? Verse 9. Whoa. And he said to him, this is the Christ speaking to Abraham, where is Sarah thy wife? And he answered and said, behold, in the tent. And he said, I will return and come to thee according to this period seasonably. And Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard at the door of the tent being behind him. And Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in days, and the custom of women ceased with Sarah. And Sarah laughed herself within herself, not out loud. Even until now, this thing has not as yet happened to me, even until now. And my Lord is old. And the Lord said to Abraham, why is it that Sarah laughed in herself, saying, shall I then indeed bear, but I am grown old? Shall anything be impossible with the Lord? And at this time, I will return to thee seasonably, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said to her, nay, but thou didst laugh. Listen, I love this part of the whole. You talk about, I waited to say this part. Boy, I've been waiting to get to that part. Oh, I love that part right there. Nay, but you did laugh. He felt that. Now, what we would call Isaac in modern terms is a love child. You know, mama's 60, daddy's 70, almost 75. Clearly they still doing their thing. Right on. Boom. And she pregnant at 60. Oh, for sure the Christ was triggered. He didn't like that. But that's how we know that's the same dude This is the same dude, if I take it back to it, and he says, why sayest thou in thy heart? You know what I'm saying? Right. When they say this man blasphemeth, right? And he says, which is easier, to forgive him of his sins or to make him get up and walk? Remember when he said, son, be of good cheer, thy sins be forgiven thee. And the Pharisees or whoever there said, this man blasphemeth in his heart. This is the same dude, y'all. The characteristics are the same, literally. Unless you're saying they just made this shit up. The Most High God does not respond to people like that. That's why he can say your thoughts are not my thoughts. Your ways are not my ways. But the Son of Man has ways that are more likened to what? Man. I can't stand these niggas, bruh. They are so ignorant. We talking about base level understanding. Yeah, us. That's it. That's the only word you can. Yeah, us. Doing the most ignorant nonsense. Let me keep reading before I get beside myself and get on my little soapbox over here. That stuff be pissing me off, though. It be pissing me off, bro. And he said to her, nay, but thou didst laugh. Now he didn't punish her. He was just letting her know. Right on? You lying, nigga. You know you laughed. Because to her, that's funny. You tell a woman right now who's 50, who's never had children, and only had 5 men in her life. Only had 5. She ain't been humping on everybody. She done been pretty much like a well-disciplined woman. And somebody's like, oh, that's 5 too many. That's 4 too many, nigga. Listen, for these chicks who got 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 men body count, 5 is damn near like nothing. Damn near a virgin. My point being this, she's 50 years old. God is telling her, hey, I know you think that you can't have babies right now, but I'm about to send a man in your life. He's going to be older than you, and y'all going to have a baby together. And from that child, it's going to be a bunch of babies made. That might be hard for some people to believe. They're like, man, that nigga lying. That's a damn lie. Where they going to do that at? God, where they do that at? This is the thing. You've got to understand how it works. The Most High does not want you to not have it. But at the same time, he can't put you in a position where you can't handle the blessing. Everybody that was given the blessing could have handled it. Do y'all understand that? Every blessing he ever gave you that you squandered, every blessing that he gave me that I ever squandered, I was capable fully of taking care of that. I failed to answer the call. When people can accept that they failed to answer the call, they'll be better off. Yeah. Listen, I must say it's not from a lack of believing, it's from a lack of not seeing. Black people are people like tangible people. We gotta see it. And some niggas be like, that was a fluke. Understand all the people who came out of Egypt who tried to explain all the miracles that God committed in the wilderness. Imagine that. Imagine all the people who literally told themselves that none of that was of God and that these were happenings that a man could make. You had people who just did not believe, bro. Period. Don't believe to this day. They can't make a miniature model of the earth on the earth. They have yet to do it. If they could, that means that they could create life. They can't create, again, the most basic thing. Listen, man, a lot of dudes want to repent after they kill somebody because you can't give a life back. It's easy to take something that you can't give back. It's difficult. A killer is no better than a liar. Right on? A killer and a liar have a lot in common because they can put something out there but can't take it back. A killer is not likened to a thief. When they say he stole his life, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't steal anything. Right on? He removed it. It's like when a person tells a lie, they remove the truth. The truth is pushed back to the side. The truth has to fight its way back in. But a life that's been taken cannot fight its way back in. God has to give that life back. Only when they feel their own mortality. Because they will die. This is what all killers go through. They feel their own mortality. And their mortality touches them. And then the idea that they could die and actually be judged is what fucks them up the most. And it makes them sad. Because they realize, I may have played my hand too soon. It's too late, though. Somebody talked you into killing somebody when you were 11, 12 years old. That blood can never be washed away. You know? This is why Africa's fucked up now. You got a bunch of dudes who were child soldiers running the show. You have to. Listen, I've known a bunch of people to do fucked up shit. Right on? Descended from some killers myself. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I can talk above these guys when the picture of my grandfather who I done showed people, that man killed an unknowable number of people, bro. Not a nice person. By any metrics of the situation of how you would consider niceness. Not a nice person. Kind. Giving, I'm sure. But short fuse, volatile energy, sometimes even outright hostile. For sure. But I don't pride myself on that. I don't hold my head on that. I know where I come from. I know that my father killed people. It's a tough one when you come from something. You know what I'm saying? The requirements are the same to get into heaven as they were 1,000 years ago, bro. Different times, different methods, I'll say. But the requirements are the same. They gotta, the same shit that God required of Abraham, he requires of these killers. Okay, you want to run around here, your dick is unclipped, you want to murder people, shoot people in the back of the head, you're going to hell. I don't give a fuck how bad you feel. You're out of here. That's the reality. Just like they ended somebody else's life, I understand that. I get that. I understand that. The requirements are the same, though. What's required of us is the same. It never changed. God wanted the slaves to be circumcised, not eat pork, not do none of this. They defiled us to the point, bro, to where we don't know what's what. You feel me? Niggas think if you can eat a turd, that eating shit is okay just because they can eat one. Like, we're in a time of some crazy shit, bro. I listen, and I agree with you. I follow what you're saying, but I don't want people to think that we're required to do anything different. I want them to know that we're supposed to do the same things that God asked Abraham to do. The first and the most important is that when somebody is 8 days old, to circumcise them. That's the most important thing you can do for a man. Is when he's a child, to show God that you offer the baby up. That's the first form of capitulation and surrender. Right on? When people say, I surrender all, do you surrender all that you have to God? Will you give them your children? Huh? You know, I'm with you, bro. We didn't had an epic one. This gonna go down in the books. This one right here is going down in the books. Believe that. This is one of the ones, bro. They needed somebody who has a balanced mind and is intellectual and is wise, right on, within his very own rights and does not need me for a damn thing. Because he going to pay his rent, his bills. He going to keep food in his stomach, a roof over his head, and clothes on his back because God gives him the power to. So when a person like that shows up and we engage in conversation like this, they need to see it. This is healthy conversation for the youngins. I pray that God lets YouTube's algorithmic planners, right on, and diffusers to allow for it to get to just the right whoever needs to really hear it needs to hear it. Not just the niggas who steal the work and try to change up what I'm saying or try to do the weird. I'm talking about the people who need to hear it. They need to hear it so that way they can look at the comments and say, damn, I'm thinking I'm doing something special, but really I'm not doing shit. Right, I think I'm doing something epic, but I'm not doing that. In God's eyes, bro, you a peon and a poop butt and a follower. A king can only follow another king. Let me say that. If you're a king, the only individual you need to be following is another king. I mean, like, i.e., Abraham is a king. Right on? When he goes and rescues Lot's children end up becoming kings in their own rights, in their own kingdoms. Word? He didn't follow behind somebody who was a nothing ass nigga and I'm gonna help this dude out who ain't gonna never do nothing for himself. No, because Lot already had things. Our people have to get over helping out people who don't want and are never gonna have it. Never. It's harsh, but it's true. I've been where I've been for years. People don't want to hear that and understand that and expressly say, like, yo, well, no matter how we feel about this nigga, he has actually been in the same location for years. So there is stability there. Again, if God wasn't stable, how could I follow him? If they moved heaven every 6 months, right? Nah, bro, we got to find another spot to put heaven in. It ain't working out over here. What kind of nonsense is that? Right. How could you follow someone like that? So when people follow people who can't pay their rent, can't pay their bills, they need you for everything, brother. If you don't drop that $20 on them every week, right on, they don't know what they're gonna do with themselves. I'm talking about the people who were claiming to be somebody who were nobodies. Not the people who were saying that I need help and I know I need help. See, I need help and I know I need help. But the help that I need, I can't get from the system. So I have to wait for the Most High God to come back to deliver me from the wickedness. You know what I'm saying? Because every time I call to reach out to see about remedying my situation, they all tell me the same thing. That they want me to take medication. But I'm like, I've been living by myself, or I've been doing my thing I've done me for years. I don't need to take medication. Maybe y'all system is fucked up. Can you put the government on medication? See what I'm saying? Right. Their whole approach is completely wicked. If you could put the U.S. government on Ritalin, if you could put the U.S. government on oxycodone, we would have a point. But there is no point, and this is why, bro, I say what I say, and I say it to have said it. Anyhow, let us get to this Sodom and Gomorrah part, because this is where the overthrow comes in, and I couldn't wait to get here. Been waiting to get here all day. Verse 16. And the men, having risen up from thence, looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham went with them, attending them on their journey. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham, my servant, what things I intend to do? But Abraham shall be a great and populous nation. And in him shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. For I know that he will order his sons and his house after him, and they will keep the ways of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham all things whatsoever he has spoken to him. And the Lord said, the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah has been increased towards me, and their sins are very great. I will therefore go down and see if they completely correspond with the cry which comes to me, and if not, that I may know. So, pretty much what we're getting here is I have to go do a reconnaissance. I've gotten intel and reports that say a such thing. I gotta make sure that the holograms ain't fake. I gotta make sure that these heavenly recordings ain't fake. And ain't nobody did no AI to them, right? I gotta go down and check on the situation with my own too. Thank you. And if it's true, then I'll see what it is. But if it's not, I need to know. Verse 22, and the men having departed thence came to Sodom, and Abram still standing before the Lord. And Abram drew nigh and said, wouldest thou destroy the righteous with the wicked? Should there be 50 righteous in the city, wilt thou destroy them? Wilt thou not spare the whole place for the sake of the 50 righteous, if they be in it? By no means shalt thou do this thing, is so as to destroy the righteous with the wicked. So the righteous shall be as the wicked. By no means. Thou that judgest the whole earth, shalt thou not do right? Come on, you see the pressure you try to put on the listen, you see the pressure Abraham came with? Abraham went full court press. He went full court press, y'all. Okay? With 3 bigs. All right? He's tripping right now. Abraham is tripping because he knows his nephew lives in Sodom and Gomorrah. He knows just a little over 15 years ago or whatever, I was in Sodom, or 20 years ago or whatever, I was in Sodom and Gomorrah. Right on? Had to smack down these dudes years back, had to kill them to go rescue my nephew. Right. Understand the logic, y'all. This man is saying it from a point of view of not because he cares about Sodom and Gomorrah, but because he cares about Lot. But can he come out and just say, I want you to save just my nephew? Oh, that's selfish. His nephew might not be the only righteous man in the city. This is basic consideration. Let's keep reading. And the Lord said, if there should be in Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will spare the whole city and the whole place for their sakes. And Abram answered and said, now I have begun to speak to the Lord, and I am earth and ashes. I'm nothing. But if the 50 righteous should be diminished to 45, wilt thou destroy the whole city because the 5 wanting? And he said, I will not destroy it if there should be 45, if I find there 45. And he continued to speak to him still and said, but if there should be found 40. And he said, I will not destroy it for the 40's sake. And he said, will there be anything against me, Lord, if I shall speak? Meaning, are you going to get mad if I say something else? But if there be found 30, listen, he done whittled it down a whole 20 people, y'all. He just keep breaking the number down. He know, listen, if you can't find 50 righteous in a whole city of, let's say, 10,000, something wrong, y'all. Something terribly wrong. Can you hear me? If you can't find 50 In my city of Tacoma, they say that they claim the population is not over 600,000 or whatever, right? They say it's somewhere right around there. Let's just say you're telling me out of 600,000, you can't find 50 righteous people. That's a problem, y'all. Pick whatever city you want. Pick the biggest city in the world where there's way more people. So the chances of there being at least 50 is greater. Let's say it's 1 million people in Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't care what your number is, but have it in the thousands, tens of thousands for sure. Yeah. And that's the problem. It's that amongst all these people, none of them are righteous. In the city you live in right now, brothers and sisters, I know this is going to mess your minds up. You might be the only righteous person that you know in that city, because you might not have any known relatives that live in that same city. They might live in another city, another county. Might not be far from you, but they still don't live in that city, that named county. You might be the only righteous person there. Crazy to think something like that, right? I'm not talking about self-righteous. I mean truly righteous. I don't reward the wicked. Does that make sense? I will never reward the wicked ever again a day in my life. I'll feed the hungry. I'll clothe the naked. Right on? Word? Right on? Yeah. And I'll truly bless the poor. But for somebody who's wicked, and because of their wickedness, they find themselves seeming like they're poor or naked or homeless or hungry. You put yourself here. You put yourself here. It wasn't a series of unfortunate incidents that landed you here. You wanted to be here. Let us keep reading. And he said, I will not destroy it for the 30's sake. And he said, thence, since I'm able to speak to the Lord, what if there should be found there 20? And he said, I will not destroy it if I should find 20. And he said, will there be anything against me, Lord, if I speak yet once? But if there should be found there 10, and he said, I will not destroy it for the 10's sake. And the Lord departed when he left off speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. You see how he whittled it down? Do y'all understand? There were not 10, listen, there were not 10 righteous people in all of Sodom and Gomorrah. Think about how deep that is. Now, does this go back to them not wanting to pay tribute? Does this go back to me saying that homosexuals are the most selfish people on the earth? Maybe I'm conflating. Let's keep reading. First one, chapter 19. No, that's right, chapter 19. And the two angels came to Sodom at evening, and Lot sat by the gate of Sodom. And Lot, having seen them, rose up to meet them, and he worshipped his face to the feet and said, Lo, my lords, turn aside to the house of your servant and rest from your journey and wash your feet. And having risen early in the morning, ye shall depart on your journey. And they said, Nay, we will lodge in the street. And he constrained them. And they turned aside to him, and they entered into his house, and he made a feast for them, and baked unleavened cakes for them, and they did eat. Unleavened, that means that there's no yeast, no rising agent. Right. It's a flapjack, pancake. Right on? What's the densest bread I can think of? What's the densest cake? It's like it's like a pancake, cuz. For real. Word? Like, I know people don't want to hear that. You know. Like, It just, it's the most logical thing. Right on? Water, flour, oil mixed together, which is kneading it. Right on? And then baked, cooked. Right. Pancake. Still bread. A cake is bread. Right on? But it's sweetened. That's what I would say. The difference between a real cake and bread is that you don't normally sweeten. I've had sweet breads. Don't get it wrong. Like actual bread that I sweetened, but it was more like cake to a lot of people. Even though I was like, well, it's bread. They're like, well, it tastes like cake to me. Whatever. I can't choose their taste buds. But the point is this: is that's what I'm saying is that cake and bread have a different, whole nother different stance in life. When you think of cake, you think of something sweet. You don't think of nothing bitter or savory or none of that. You think of something sweet when you hear cake. Right on? Mm-hmm. You sure do. Now here we go. And it says what? And they did eat, meaning angels eat. Celestial bodies that come here in the physical form eat. When the Lord was with Abraham, did he not eat? He ate meat too. So Jesus is not a vegetarian. I don't know why people think he is. I don't know why people, again, the conditions of the earth have changed so much that the original construct that was given to mankind has been abandoned. So now they're working with what they have. Like, that good old adage from Napoleon. You don't go to war with the army that you want. You go to war with the army that you have. So the Most High God, using what he had, he made the best out of it. They said they're going to sleep in the streets. He's like, nah. Listen, y'all. By the way he treated them, he's hospitable. Right on? Now, how did he know he worshipped with his face to the ground? How did he know who they were? Now he's a Semite amongst Kemites. So there might be something different about these individuals that he can see that he might know something that they don't know. Right on? Can you dig it? This is a son of a man who's a true son of a man of sin. Lot, by all intents and purposes, is a Semite. And he's a Hebrew. Facts. Let's keep reading. But before they went to sleep, the men of the city, the Sodomites, compassed the house, both young and old, all the people together. And they called out Lot and said to him, where are the men that went in with thee this night? Bring them out to us that we may be with them. And Lot went out to them on the porch, and he shut the door after him and said to them, by no means, brethren, do not act villainously. But I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. I will bring them out to you, and do ye use them as it may please you. Only do not injure these men, to avoid which they came under shelter of my roof. And they said to him, stand back there. They cometh into sojourn, and was it also to judge? Listen, these dudes know what time it is. This is back in the day where divinity and cosmic energy and frequency and spectra, all that stuff. They were like, bro, who are these dudes, bro? Are they here to judge us? Right. Y'all got to understand it's a different time back then. You don't call 911. Where? Did the cries of men in the city go up? Because of the way that these are men who probably have wives and daughters at home and want to sleep with another man. He offered both his daughters. This is how it was back then. Man, take my daughters. Right on? Do with them as you see fit. That's cold-blooded. What story does that sound like, though, when we get down to the book of Benjamin, right? You see what I'm saying? The Benjamites have a similar story where there was a Levite priest who went out with his concubine. And the men of Benjamin in a certain place, 500 of them to be damn near exact, took a woman that because the man whose house he wanted to lodge with them, right, said, you can have my daughter. They didn't want the daughter to sit the daughter back in. So dude sent out old girl, and they took her and ravaged her all night. And when she made it back, she dropped dead at the doorstep. And that priest sawed her body into 12 pieces and sent a piece to each tribe. Now, I only imagine the piece that he sent to Benjamin to show them why the foulness of what she went through. That piece he sent to Benjamin was probably the most abused part of her body. So that way they would know what was coming, why this is happening. Just my take on the matter. I'm conflating to some people, but I'm comparing in my own mind. There's no conflation here. I just said that there's a parallel that makes them seem similar. And I'm using the scripture with scripture. And I'm not taking one thing from another and putting it with another. Homosexual activity led to the downfall of Sodom and Gomorrah. Homosexual activity led to the downfall of the tribe of Benjamin. Let's keep reading. Imagine how much greater Shaul would have been if his mother was an actual Semite. Where were we at? Verse 9. And they said to him, stand back there. Thou comest into sojourn? Was it also to judge? Now then, would we harm thee more than them? And they pressed hard on the man, even Lot, and they drew nigh to break the door. And the men stretched forth their hands and drew Lot into the house, and drew Lot to them into the house, and shut the door of the house. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, and they were wearied with seeking the door. And the men said to Lot, flashbang grenade, right? A biblical angelic flashbang. These niggas don't know what they're reading, y'all. That's why it takes me to break it down. Shit, yeah. Takes a good old trained Marine. Trained in combat. Trained to kill. Shit, yeah. Let's go ahead and break this down. And they asked Lot, do you want us to fuck you up too? More than them? Because whatever we do to them, bro, we'll do worse to you, bro. Okay. These dudes are wickedly evil. The Sodomites are wickedly evil. Why do you think he was sitting out by the gates of the city? Was Lot waiting for them? Did God put him there? Or was that Lot's spot to be at, to not be bothered by all of it? And they also knew not to mess with Lot because of what? Because of Abraham. Right. His uncle came and freed some of these dudes. Some of the dudes who was acting up are probably the same people who were cavalrymen who got captured. The levels of the wickedness is so deep. It's no different than when you compare was Shaul amongst the Pharisees who was testing the Christ while he yet lived. Again, they don't know nothing. Don't tell them. And the men said to Lot, verse 12, hast thou here sons-in-laws, or sons, or daughters? Or if thou hast any friend, any other friend in the city, bring them out of this place, for we are going to destroy this place. For their cry has been raised up before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Now, just in case you guys don't know this, when they do airstrikes in real life, they'll have these markers that show the pilots who are up in these fucking fighter jets the approximate area where you want to bomb. Right on? Markers, right? The angels are telling Lot, we're about to initiate our markers so heaven knows to knock this shit down. Right. Did heaven not bomb on Sodom and Gomorrah? Is that not air superiority, air dominance? Whatever. Again, this is basic warfare. I'm trying to give the people some understanding to, so that way they can really understand the Most High God has us all beat already. But why crush you when you could just repent and change and turn from your wicked ways? Well, that's all I have to do. All we all have to do is to stop the evil that we commit and do right. Do right and kill everything that's not. Let us keep reading. And Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-laws who married his daughters and said, rise up and depart from out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city. But he seemed to be speaking absurdly before his sons-in-law. But when it was morning, the angels hastened Lot, saying, arise and take thy wife and thy 2 daughters whom thou hast, and go forth, lest thou also be destroyed with the iniquities of the city. And they were troubled, and the angels laid hold on his hand, and the hand of his wife, and the hands of his 2 daughters, and that the Lord spared him. They grabbed hold, and they, like when you hold somebody's hand real quick, and you say it's gonna be all right. It was like that. It was like they was passing off that radiant energy, so that God knew, don't kill them. No different than when they put the blood of the lamb over the lintel of the home, so that way the spirit of death would pass over the homes, i.e. the Passover. And it came to pass, when they brought them out, that they said, save thine own life by all means. Look not round to that which is behind, nor stay in all the country round about. Escape to the mountain, lest perhaps thou be overtaken together with them. And Lot said, I pray, Lord, since thy servant has found mercy before thee, and hast magnified, and thou hast magnified thine righteousness, and what thou doest towards me, that my soul may live, but I shall not be able to escape to the mountain, lest perhaps the calamity overtake me, and I die. Behold, this city is near me for me to escape thither, which is a small one, and there shall I be preserved. Is it not little? And my soul shall live because of thee. And he said to him, behold, I have had respect to thee also about this thing, that I should not overthrow the city about which thou hast spoken. Respect to the city, respect to the fact, countenance, not to his actual person. Right on? Like, I see that you're distressed. I've already considered that. I considered that you couldn't get to the mountain, that you might need to go to the city. Come on, man. Now understand, Lot speaking on righteousness. So in Lot, there is a degree of righteousness, just not enough to where he would have never lived in a city like Sodom and Gomorrah, where it would have been destroyed and it wouldn't have mattered. Let's keep reading. Hasten therefore to escape thither, for I shall not be able to do anything until thou art come thither. Therefore he called the name of that city Segor. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Segor. And the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. So the Lord rained from the Lord? No, again, like, y'all gotta understand. It's 2 different entities. Right. Right. Unless you're saying he's himself in heaven. Let me just Give you some background. Let's just say, in the ever-present form that the Christ may be able to take, he's in heaven, directing his earthly form where everything is at. The earthly form is telling him where to drop. Or we can say that the angels are Lord-like to Lot. Right? We don't know what angels these are. This could be Michael. This could be Gabriel. This could be Phanuel. Right? This could be Tamriel. Right? You see what I'm saying? You get what I mean? Yeah. So when you look at it, you have to have that mentality to know. It could be Raphael. I don't know. My point being this, is that when you have people who don't understand that or don't get it, they're not going to get it. Again, and the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. So it's not hellfire and brimstone, it's heaven fire and brimstone. I get tired of these stupid ass dudes talk. They don't know nothing. The next time they say hellfire and brimstone, crack them in the chest with a sledgehammer so they can't speak again. Right on? Crush them. Hit them on top of their collarbone and smack their clavicle while you're at it. Make them feel it. Guarantee they won't talk nothing stupid again. Guarantee they won't tell no lies again. And the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew these cities, and all the country round about, and all that dwelt in the cities, and the plants springing out of the ground. And his wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham rose up early to go to the place where he had stood before the Lord. And he looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah, towards the surrounding country, and saw, and behold, a flame went up from the earth as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass that when God destroyed all the cities of the region round about, God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when the Lord overthrew those cities which Lot dwelt. Took all that time just to get to the overthrow. I know. It's like a good old movie, though. We got the actual words in there. And Lot went up out of Segor and dwelt in the mountain, he and his 2 daughters with him. For he failed to dwell in Segor, and he dwelt in the cave, he and his 2 daughters with him. Stop. And we will stop right there, because we will be ready to pull up on the birth of Isaac in this next one. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do that which is right. God is righteous. God is holy. God is blessed. The wild ass and the overthrow. A whole lot of stuff was said in between. But we have gotten to that point. The overthrow was complete. And it was complete because they were what? Unhospitable. I'm not going to read it out of the King James Version. Word. But it'll get to it. It'll break it all down at another point where it says that they were unhospitable. I just don't want to. That's why I didn't call it that. Right on. That's why I called it the overthrow. Because when Sodom and Gomorrah is brought up again later, it'll be brought up why they were overthrown. It was because the people were unhospitable. And how can you want to sleep with grown-ass men, being grown-ass men? Hold on, this is the same Sodom that got slapped down by the Elamites and the other great kings, who Abraham went and killed himself because they took his nephew hostage. It's a good, I can't guarantee it's a good chance, though, that Sodom and Gomorrah would have never been destroyed had they continued to pay tribute. Because they
found their way out of that or backed out of that or rebelled, all the other wicked things that were taking place took place even more. It's a blessing. Brothers and sisters, man, I always have a great time reading the scripture. I try not to do too much. I know everybody has a life to live. I know it's been a long one, but I enjoyed myself. I'm glad that we did this today and not yesterday and not the day before. But may tomorrow be better than today, and may your next week surely exceed your last. I salute you. I salute you again. I salute you once more. Spiritual Gumbo.